Hey folks, welcome to I think our 10th or 11th episode of Not Another United podcast. It's a little difficult to be smiling at the moment because of the news that has just come out, so I'm not too sure. But yeah, just to start things off with some context, so we're a bunch of three friends who meet each other every week virtually and discuss everything there is to discuss in the world of United. And maybe happily or sadly, there is always so much to talk about. And boy, do we have things to talk about today. So yeah, Amorim has been sacked. Period. End of podcast. End of sentence. End of the year. End of the season. I don't know. I don't know what else to make of it. But yeah, Sid, let's try to follow the agenda that we've set because this can be very digressing. I know we'll try to be as objective as possible. So Sid, why don't you start us off with what are initial reactions of this news of Amorim sacking? Initial thoughts? How did you react to it? I think, yeah, you can. No, Mike is still not.
It should be audible now.
Yeah, maybe, huh? So what were your initial, what was the initial reaction as soon as you heard Amorim sacking? What were your thoughts?
So, if you remember, I was in office and I was writing a lengthy message on a WhatsApp group explaining what could have happened that merited that reaction. And then the news broke, Amarim sacked. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? I mean, I was shocked beyond belief because there are disagreements, there are disconnection, there are you know uh, it is not a head coach's job or a manager's job to agree with everything that the sporting structure put in front of you. Healthy constructive criticism is healthy for any organization. You don't need yes men around you. You don't need you need don't need optimistics around you. You need realistics around you, right? Realists around you. But I was assuming that this will iron itself out in due course of time. Once our players return, once the dust settles around the January transfer window, we are there or thereabouts with the Champions League position. So I assume that it'll play itself out. But I mean, this has taken me by surprise. Surprise is a very mellow word that I'm using. It is still difficult for me to digest. You know, this feels, you spend so many days and months, investing or getting behind the philosophy of a manager, getting behind that personality of a manager, and then, just like that, the snap of of a of an association, it all goes away. I mean, it is so difficult to, and only football fans will understand this side of things because no other relationship has this. But I mean, I am stunned beyond belief. I am stunned beyond belief.
So as soon as the sack happened, I shouted, by the way, like there was an obvious raise of voice, and it takes a lot for me to shout, by the way, because I hardly do that ever. Like I don't even raise my voice because I mean, there was massive disbelief, and I was like, this can't be, I mean, this is not an April Fool prank, is it? I mean, in January, मतलब ये कैसे हो सकता है? How in the world can this be real? And like I told you, I think I immediately called you because I wanted to process the situation, and it still hasn't. It hasn't sunk in at all. And I remember I still stand by those three words. There was numbness, there is cluelessness, and there is sadness, and maybe in that order. And however long it takes for me to process it, it will. But yeah, I today has been unreal. I think this is the saddest I've felt after a manager has got sacked, um, forcefully, for sure,
Right.
because of just the abruptness of it and how at least I perceive him to be as a human, Amorim, right? Now, I think moving on to what do you feel about the decision? Like, now that I know there's been less time still, the sample size is too small. But what do you feel about the decision? Like, do you give a short answer and then, of course, you can add on to it. Do you feel it is correct? Do you
So,
feel it's not, or is somewhere in the middle?
see, personally, as I was mentioning, I felt that the storm will pass over and he will continue to be the manager for the long term. But the more I, analyze things, it became clear to me post the news that the writing was on the wall, and if something big would have must have happened behind the scenes for him to warrant such a reaction. So, I mean, personally, I did not want this to happen. I think we are back to square one. I hope we are not back to square one, but it feels like Groundhog Day all over again. I mean, we keep going through the same cycle of, you know, optimism, then reality check, then pessimism, and then the firing, and then burst of optimism.
Back to square one, or maybe a few steps further back?
I'll come to that at a later stage. I do have those points as well, but I don't know where we are right now, to be honest. And I think as much as I'm shocked, I'm equally irritated at the footballing structure. And if you know me, and if you have observed my inclination towards INEOS's footballing structure, I think I've always been very supportive of mostly everything that they have done, right? But this is a blot on their CV, so to say. This is the second managerial decision that they've gotten wrong. Third big decision overall. Ten Hag's renewal and then sacking, Ashworth's firing 3 months into the tenure, and now Amorim. Uh, I mean, either you misprofiled the manager or you did not expect him to be this stubborn, and he completely flipped over. The murmurs are that he had a massive showdown with Wilcox in a so-called constructive meeting, which could be the case, could be a PR spin, I don't know. But I did not want this to happen personally. Personally, I wanted Amorim to succeed, and I think the signs were there for. I mean, I could at least see the progress happening on the pitch. People could definitely disagree with me, but I think from an attacking standpoint, we were improving. You take away Bruno, Mount, Ahmad, Mbeumo from any team in the world, and that team would struggle to create chances, right? And that's what was happening I mean, for United. But at least there was character in large part of this season. We showed character, we showed resilience, and at least I was optimistic. This season will end up being a so-called successful season. Now I don't know what will happen. I'm not too sure how this will pan out.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I feel very sad. I mean, that's the only word I can equate this moment to. And yeah, I was never in favor of this. And I remember I think before this, in every episode, I used to say that whatever the management does, I have trust in the leadership. I have trust in them because we finally have the right people on board. And even that has shaken up a little bit. Maybe you could call it that. Uh, yeah, the trauma was a little too close right now. But yeah, I feel even the trust in that leadership, I'm not as sure as I was maybe till up until yesterday. So I wanted to highlight something, by
But
the way.
sorry, just before you
Uh,
move on, it is so shocking the turn of events, right? Till I think the match against Bournemouth, where we drew 4-4, staunch critics of Amorim, as staunch as Carragher, Gary Neville, they were saying that they are seeing offshoots of progress. They are seeing offshoots of United playing good football. Now, from that to now, I think only 3 weeks have passed. It's a shocking turn of events.
so I basically wanted to highlight something which I read online, and this was before the game, by the way. And I could echo with it. And maybe so I had saved it in my notes as well. That maybe I this is exactly how my take would be. I'd like to just read that out quickly. So it goes like, call him stubborn, call him arrogant, but going into games without Bruno and Bumo, Ahmad, Mount, Maguire, and Dillit, and still getting results is not easy.
Meno.
Menu. Menu is his choice as well. Na? He was. This is his first full season with very few transfers. We asked for improvement after finishing 15th. Now we're fifth, playing more entertaining attacking football. That is improvement. Yes, standards have dropped. That's the reality. But accept it, appreciate the small steps, the tiny wins, the progress. Get him a few more players, improve the depth. He's shown he can adapt. With proper backing, he can do great things. You don't have to trust him. That's your choice. But I believe he's the right man for United long term.
Did you
So,
write it? Did you write it on a physical paper? Now you can just tear that apart and
so I read this somewhere and I saved it with me. I saved it in
yeah,
my
yeah. I mean,
Instagram post, and
जिसने भी लिखा है इससे ज्यादा समराइज तरीके से लिख नहीं सकता. Exactly my feelings. I mean, exactly how I felt going into the before, even before Wolves, after Wolves. See, I think reaction to Wolves, there was an overreaction to the draw against Wolves. Let me be very honest. पहली बार नहीं हुआ है हम वीक टीम के अगेंस्ट ड्रॉ किए, पहले भी करते थे, ठीक है, तो इतना ज्यादा ओवर रिएक्शन वाज नॉट मेरिटेड आई थिंक. उसको भी लग रहा होगा यार कि यार क्यों ही कर रहा हूँ मैं ये. एंड मुझे आई मीन सो आई मीन कॉल मी अ सिनिक, बट मुझे लग रहा है कि knowing how, I mean, एक बंदे की पर्सनालिटी completely कैसे चेंज हो सकती है, राइट, कि from someone who in the most difficult of times would continue to be, jovial, curt, etc., to now when you are in a decent position table wise become so cold all of a sudden. So somewhere down, I mean, somewhere I felt that कुछ इतना मैसिव ब्लो आउट हुआ है या वो इतना ज्यादा उसका मतलब सब्र का बांध टूट गया है कि यार क्यों सुनूं यार ये फॉर्मेशन 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 का राग पंडित से. एवरीवन इज आउट देयर, आउट देयर फॉर माय ब्लड, दे जस्ट वांट मी टू फेल. So I think he stirred up the storm and waited for the sack. I mean, I feel that way. It's the straight out of the Mourinho playbook, whom he considers his guru, so to say, right? So possible है, कुछ भी हो सकता है.
if we get down to the nitty-gritty, sort of, and if we discussed why do you think Amorim was sacked, and you can be as objective and as detached as you possibly can, like
So
what were the reasons behind it?
so I think two reasons primarily. First, I think his rigidness, his stubbornness to not move away from 3-4-3 even against weaker teams, even when, and I think he's kind of right in the sense that if he moves away from 3-4-3, then उसका वो अपनी पूरी philosophy को betray कर रहा है, right? And आपने जिस चीज के लिए उसको sign किया है, you're asking him to be more flexible with that. So I think that's when he kind of felt, he would have felt disrespected. And I think that's where the statement जहाँ उसने अपने आप को Conte बोला कि I'm not Conte, Mourinho or Tuchel, but I am the manager. I think he was asking for respect, not from the not only from the media but also from the board per se. That is one. Second, दूसरा रीजन था कि ट्रांसफर पे disagreements. I think United only wanted to go after long term targets, and since Semenyo fit कर रहा था long term target who is available in the immediate run, they were willing to shell out 65 million pounds, but they were not willing to compromise on long-term targets. The likes of Anderson, the likes of Baleba, Wharton, and वो available नहीं थे. So they did not want to compromise, say, with the likes of Neves or Edison or something of that ilk. So I think उसको लगा था कि 65 million वहाँ खर्चा कर रहे हो तो और कहीं क्यों नहीं मुझे strengthen कर रहे हो. I think second is that. Third is, I mean, the 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 harsh reality is that our
You
points
said
tally.
two reasons.
Sorry. Third reason is that the harsh the harsh truth is that we haven't been good enough in the last 14 months. Let's be very honest. I mean, there have been signs of progress, but in the eyes of the decision makers, it was not sufficient, in my opinion.
So, by the way, I feel there's only one reason why Amorim got sacked, and nothing else. This is, of course, my personal opinion, is that he has had a massive fallout with Wilcox or the entire leadership. I'm not sure who's who, and maybe we would never get this information. I hope we really do. I hope sometime in the future, maybe some level
Yeah,
of
I'm waiting for for an article from Laurie saying inside the week that was at United. जहाँ सारा capture करेगा वो.
and possibly not at a Piers Morgan interview.
Correct.
But yeah, I hope the kernels of truth, whatever, come out in good time, as quick as possible, maybe in the middle of like at the end of the season. But I feel that's the only reason because why now? Every other reason which I have thought of, which I have seen or read or heard, why now? Why could
No, no,
it
you're
not have
right on that.
happened a few weeks earlier or maybe a
You
few weeks
you're
later?
right on that front, but फॉलआउट का रीजन क्या है? मेरे हिसाब से ये तीन रीजंस है फॉलआउट के. It can't, I mean, see, so ये so क्या होता है ना जब ऐसा कुछ होता है, right? Because the manager signs an NDA, you cannot speak. I mean, you're not allowed to give the insight in inner workings of any club for a period of time, say 5 साल 6 साल 7 साल. Therefore, all the managers, including Moyes, वो बहुत late तक wait करते हैं before they come out with their tidbits, their anecdotes, their side of the story. That is the reason why. क्योंकि एनडीए साइन करके रखते हैं तो हमें एमोरिम की साइड ऑफ द स्टोरी डायरेक्टली तो कभी पता ही नहीं चलेगी इन द नियर फ्यूचर. वो अपने सोर्सेज के थ्रू लीक करेगा, वो अलग बात है. लाइक क्लब के पास क्लब की जो पीआर टीम होती है वो प्रेस रिलीज करती है एक. दूसरा वो ब्रीफिंग करती है. तो उस ब्रीफिंग में ये था कि एंड दैट्स द स्टोरी दैट ऑल द जर्नलिस्ट रैन विद, दैट विलकॉक्स एंड उसका कंस्ट्रक्टिव मीटिंग होना था फ्राइडे को, जो कि मीटिंग हुआ. एंड व्हेन विलकॉक्स आस्क्ड हिम टू बी फ्लेक्सिबल, अडेप्टेबल, play more expansive football, more attacking football, he got livid, he got emotional, and the situation blew up. So I think that's what I read, and I mean, fallout तो हुआ है. Otherwise, out of the blue तो कुछ नहीं होता है, right? Fallout तो हुआ ही है. नहीं तो अगर इतना बड़ा fallout नहीं होता तो चीजें बाहर नहीं आती हैं. पीछे पीछे भी मतलब behind the scenes चल के खत्म हो सकता था. So fallout तो हुआ है, that is for sure.
But do you reckon ego had a role to play or it was purely objective?
Sorry.
But do you reckon ego had a role to play or was it purely objective, like a well thought out
See,
decision?
I think sometimes when you have two massive egos operating in a club. So I don't know Wilcox, but Amorim has a massive ego. The smallest of argument can trigger a big storm, and I think वही हुआ है. I don't know smallest of the arguments है, बड़ा argument है, but that definitely ego is at play. अगर उस दोनों में से कोई भी एक कैरेक्टर इन दिस इक्वेशन अपना ईगो साइड में रखता, मतलब it could have been solved amicably, right? पहले भी, I mean, it is not the first time a manager has has gone at has taken aim at the sporting director. पहले भी हुआ है, but I mean it shouldn't have ended this way अगर egos हटा दी जाती.
So why do you think he played with a back four against our Newcastle victory? I mean, what was the reason behind that?
See,
Why did he choose to?
तब मुझे लगा था कि नीड ऑफ द आवर है, आई मीन, टू फूल एडी एडी हाउ, and it did happen. But now, if I ponder over it a little bit more, I feel it was to basically फुटबॉलिंग स्ट्रक्चर को चुप करवाने के लिए. ठीक है मैं कर रहा हूँ जो तुमने बोला है. एंड सिंस वो मैच जीता, he reverted back to his type in a 3-4-3. And I think, see, I mean, I keep repeating that in a perfectly shaped 3-4-3 with just the right players, it is a more attacking formation than a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2, because essentially you have your two wing backs are your two wingers essentially. So you're able to get in more attackers into your team. But because we don't have players of that profile, that's the harsh truth, right? And 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 eight of our starting of our first team players are out injured or are away to AFCON. It is not easy to cope up, and therefore hence he played Torgu and Dalo at the wing backs, which essentially meant that he was playing with eight defensive minded players. Now, but when you play with eight defensive minded players, you also have to keep in mind that out of those eight, two are in the attacking position. So essentially only playing with six defensive minded players. So I mean, see, everyone wanted him to leave. Essentially, on social media, the popular voices wanted him to leave. They must be really happy, and I think they got what they wanted to do. And to be honest, in this entire scheme of things, I feel uh, pundits have had a massive influence. And I'm saying this for the first time. No, I don't remember any other manager who was dissected, analyzed this much by the pundits the way Amorim has been, and that too by ex-United players. I don't know. I mean, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And these are the so-called class of '92, right? Uh, the Nevilles and the Scholes of
Schools.
the world. I mean,
But
I mean, I don't get. I don't see this from any other. I don't see this for any other club. Any other club. I mean,
which makes it even sadder. And yeah, I know there have been so many briefings ever since the news broke out, and I'm sure if we refresh the screen right now, we'll see 20 new
yeah.
articles anyway. But yeah, so BBC have put out such a strong statement in United's favor, which clearly looks like a briefing.
What
They
does it say?
the starting line is Man United feel they offered Amorim every element of support during his time in charge of the club. That's the hero line. That's the hero copy. And it is citing how, despite mentioning numerous times that his tactics would evolve from the 3-4-3 he used at Sporting, it never happened. And yeah, then the Newcastle win got highlighted where we shifted to a back four, but then he reverted to his 3-4-3, and the result against Wolves and the formation we played was a massive, massive blow. And then, of course, his comments in front of the media suggested that there's a split behind the scenes, and yeah, like what happened happened, and it's basically pro United hierarchy, pro United leadership. So, and I'm sure we'll, as and when days pass, we'll see more of these briefings. Maybe we'll see Amorim's side coming out quickly as well. Before we move on to, I think, the next phase, I wanted to talk about Amorim's interview in general, which was right before the sacking, which is, I think we were left with that interview for a few hours to digest, absorb, and make of it what we wanted to. But I wanted to start off with what Wayne Rooney said about Ruben Amorim's interview, right? So he said, I don't think Amorim should be speaking like that. You need to earn the right to dictate what happens at a club. He's not Guardiola, he's not Klopp. He hasn't got that history or background. But I still feel for him. I feel for him because the squad is not good enough. Because we have academy players, we have players 17, 18 sitting on the bench, and I do feel for him. This is Rooney's take. Now, tell me, right before the sacking happened, what did you think of the interview? And did you believe that this is how the day is going to turn out to be? I think your mic needs fixing.
So I
So I'll
assume.
fix that again. So when you saw Ruben Amorim
No, I
say what
heard.
he did,
No, I heard. I heard.
yeah,
I heard
just so
his.
we can get some clips out, basically, is why I was wanting to utter the question again. So yeah, as soon as you heard Amorim's interview after the Leeds game, what did you make of it? How did you react? And did you ever think that this is how the day is going to pan out?
So I assume that people would sleep on the interview, think about what they said behind the scenes in front of the media, have a adult sit down with each other and move on. I imagine that to be the case, but I mean, uh, no one in the media also had any clue as to what would happen, right? I mean, talk of the devils, the podcast that the Athletic churns out, right? They Andy Mitton, who's probably one of the most connected journalists out there, right, for United, he had no clue. So I mean, I did not expect this to be the end result. Uh, but coming to what Rooney mentioned about him not having enough credit in the bank to dictate the shots, I think he's right in a way that you can't call the shots without actually proving your worth on the field. As they say, proof is in the pudding, right? And I think also Amorim was unlucky with a lot of things. The way the season has panned out, I mean, it has been a season of missed opportunities, and yet we are sixth in the table. So I mean, had he had a little more points, I mean, I keep talking about the drop points at home against Bournemouth, West Ham, Everton, Wolves. You know, all four were easy winnable matches, right? Had he won all these matches, we would have been at 49, 39, and there wouldn't have been any chatter around this, any chatter around
No,
his
but come to
formation
think
ideology.
about it, even if we were 39, he could
Y-
still be sacked. I mean, we could
Yeah,
still be
that's
sitting
true.
here because of the reasons. I mean, because of the reasons we've
By
just
by
spoken
by
about.
that logic, no, by that logic, even if we were second, he could have been sacked. I mean, if at the end of the day it boiled down to egos, and वो तो कभी भी clash हो
Yeah,
सकता है ना.
yeah. I mean,
And also it has to be, now that I think of it, it has to be something to do with. an abrupt, you know, breakdown of relationship, an abrupt divorce, so to say, an
And so
abrupt
quickly,
fallout.
so
Because
quickly.
as as recent as September, uh, Jim Ratcliffe gave him his backing by saying that he needs at least 3 years to make build his own team, right? So I mean, see, at the end of the day, Amorim walks out with I think a multi-million payout, because they as
Yeah.
part of the contract they are supposed to pay out his full contract. The only the only two entities who look like fools out of at the end of this episode is United and United's footballing structure, right? Because it is their decision. It is you sleep in the bed that you make, right? So you now they have to sleep in the bed of their own making. And I think no one in the United would have expected that. So therefore, I don't think they are ready with any contingency plan right now.
But now, what do you think? Like this whole manager versus head coach debate, right?
Hmm.
And I saw that when I think even when his appointment was made, he was labeled as a head coach,
Head coach, yeah, first
and
head coach in the
even
history.
yeah, exactly. And even with the sacking, they went with the same jargon, of course. So where did this debate come from? Was it
So I
something that is
think I
behind the
think when he
scenes and we
mentioned
don't know about?
yeah, so I think when he said I am the manager, not the head coach, he was directly alluding to the transfer wala conflict that he would have had with the sporting director and the other people, the other power brokers. Because when you are a manager, you call you take you dictate the transfer shots. You call the shots on transfers. But when you're a head coach, you play within the parameters that's been set for you. So
But then why did he not revolt back then itself then? Because it must have come out after an agreement, right? Like what your
because
designation is going to be.
yeah, right. Because again वो एक ही उनका मेन जो फॉल आउट का रीजन आई थिंक वो ट्रांसफर्स एंड प्ले स्टाइल पे ही है. And when you're a head coach, you listen to the footballing structure both for the style of the play as well as the players that are given to you, right? But when you're a manager, you call the shots on both the fronts. So for example, Arteta is the head coach at Arsenal, but Guardiola is a manager at City. Uh, so that's the main difference. Because so for example, Sir Alex Ferguson is
If
probably
he
the
said yes to being the head coach, why did this statement come out?
from Amorim.
Yeah, or did he not never say yes to a head coach position
No,
anyway? Because
he would have definitely said yes to a
so for
head
then
coach
why make
position,
this
because
statement?
these things are not just coined at the last minute. You are
Of
taken through the
course.
entire contract. You devise the designation. You get all the necessary alignments, and that's when the contract is signed. So for him to come out, and I think it was a very careless statement from Amorim. It was he wanted to put out certain messages to the hierarchy. He wanted, again, I mean, call me a cynic, call me a conspiracy monger, but I think he was looking for a blowout for him to get sacked, because he had enough of the club and the the baggage that comes with it.
I mean, that's something I was fearing actually, but I do think that it can easily be the case that he knew that he's giving his last interview and he
So
wanted
so
to
if
go
I
out
think
sort
did
of
you
on his own terms in terms of the narrative he sets before he leaves. Before you just say another thing was that why did he say, I will not quit? I will
again, it
not
was a
quit.
message. I think by then he would have realized that his days are limited, and he
Yeah.
was just putting out कि तुम्हें निकालना है तो निकालो, मैं नहीं जाने वाला, essentially वैसा. कि because उसका tone काफी अलग था. If you remember, he would say that I have massive self respect, I'm ready to quit tomorrow, to now him saying that I am the manager, I will never quit. It was him asking for that last ounce of respect from both the media and the senior hierarchy. And I think now, knowing in hindsight, knowing what has happened, I think that interview was a death kneel in his coffin.
Because I mean, another take could be that this was his last plea, sort of, to either back him or sack him. This was like a last
No,
litmus test, but
that's
I
the
think it
take.
can't be the
That's
case.
the take that Athletic approached it with before they put out the news of his sacking. But I doubt that now in hindsight, I don't think that was his intention. His intention was to basically put it out there that I'm not getting necessary support from the hierarchy, and if I am to get fired, you know the reasons why, why we are in this position. So I think it was his way of putting things out there. And now that if you observe, if you analyze the occurrings of the past 3 weeks, right? He made a statement that got lost previously. उसने बोला था कि I am now coming to a realization that I might not be able to play my ideal 3-4-3 formation because I'm because those that formation needs perfect players, and he might not have the time and the money to play that. So अभी essentially वो बोलना चाहता है कि मुझे धीरे धीरे समझ आ रहा है कि मुझे अडाप्ट करना पड़ेगा. People took it in a positive connotation कि यार ठीक है, he's willing to change, willing to be flexible. Then उसने जो न्यूकासल में बोला कि दैट्स द सरप्राइजिंग पार्ट, उसने न्यूकासल के बाद बोला कि I have changed the formation now because I felt that my players are ready, but I did not change it because of you as in the media. So वहाँ मुझे लगा कि everything is fine. I mean, मेरे दिमाग में नहीं आ रहा कि anything, there are tensions brewing between the two sects behind the scenes. But then after Wolves pre leads completely different tonality. सो फ्राइडे को ही कुछ हुआ है, फ्राइडे सैटरडे के बीच में कुछ हुआ है, जो हुआ है जो ज़्यादा बड़ा हुआ है ना, आई थिंक इसलिए हो गया है. But I think he was aware of the fact that he would get sacked in the morning by the time he gave his post-match interview.
Now, I mean, we can't exit this podcast without talking about what Sir Jim Ratcliffe said, right? Back in this was, by the way, March 2025, and this I just wanted to start this off. He said, "I think he's doing a really good job. To be honest, I think he's an outstanding young manager. I really do. He's an excellent manager, and I think he will be there for a long time." Now, how does whatever happened today impact your perception of INEOS?
See, I think obviously their credibility has taken a dent in my eyes. It's a straight egg on the face of the leadership. Uh, you sack a manager that you bagged throughout the summer. You so vocally bagged in different interviews when they had multiple junctions at which they could have sacked Amorim, right? But they unequivocally bagged him. uh, he could have been sacked after the Europa League, and not many people would have batted an eyelid. He would have been sacked after the Grimsby result. He could have been sacked at a lot many other junctions, but nothing happened. And now to be sacked, you know right after a decent result against Leeds, I would say. It's an egg on their faces. For them to now, they have lost credibility in my eyes. I'll see every decision that they make with skepticism. Uh, One good thing is that our approach to transfers is not system led anymore. It is more player led, more ethos led, and therefore I think Cunha, the four signing that we made this summer would be a success. But any major decision that they has to be taken with a lot of skepticism. I would take it with a lot of skepticism. I will not give them a free pass anymore.
Yeah, I mean, of course, starting off with Ashworth, of course, getting sacked, and maybe before that, like giving Ten Hag a second chance, which is also incredibly crucial. Like everybody sane would have told you otherwise. You gave him a second chance, and you didn't just give him that. You gave him 300 million pounds, $300 million to spend, or euros, sorry, in the market. It's not a small amount at all. And then you sack him a few months into the season, and then you bring Amorim in, a guy who never wanted to come in the middle of the season in the first place. It was categorically, factually true. But you somehow convinced him, and you somehow were convinced about the game model that you wanted to play, and that he is the right man, and you knew that he's not going to waver from what his beliefs, morals, and what his formation is. You knew that he's not going to do that. Maybe one of the reasons why you hired him was that he had a pure game model he wanted to stick to forever and ever. And throughout all our initial games, every single post-match conference was led by Amorim, and he used to repeat this at least once. that I'm not going to change my formation. I'm not going to change my formation. And now from that to this moment where we felt a little more stable, where there is obvious improvement from last season. And I'm not considering last season with Amorim, but I'm considering last season as a whole. He didn't inherit the team he wanted to, right? You can never do that. So it was supposed to be a write-off, but it doesn't seem like that. So there's a sense of hypocrisy here, is what I feel.
Absolutely,
Is
absolutely,
what I feel.
absolutely
You've
bang on.
actually now even our briefs that are coming out with what Amorim's win tally has been, how low his clean sheet tally has been, and his overall points and the XG, and he's the worst manager in history in terms of percentage wins, right, and percentage clean sheets as well, and even points, number of points as well. So the entire spin has changed, and now to be sacking him at arguably one of the worst times possible for any team.
Right,
I mean, I don't know. I kept defending INEOS right up to Ten Hag, Ashworth. Even let's say, even if January we would not have signed anybody, I would have still backed
right,
them 10 out of 10. Now I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. I
exactly.
mean, I
No,
would
no,
like
no.
to think that they've employed the right people in Omar, in Jason, in Vivel, and in so many others. But I don't know. I mean, it's an outcome-based business. I feel like the laughing stock, frankly, today. It's
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I echo your sentiments. I think I'm in the exact same boat as you are. I will see any major decision that they make with complete skepticism. They'll not get a clean sheet, and I think most of the fans see most of the fans who are not based out of UK would follow the same approach. A lot of United fans I have are already they've already started, expressing their discontent against the ownership, and that's absolutely fine. Owners are not supposed to be famous here, right? There's no owner in this world who's 100% loved. Even in the United history, you had Martin Edwards, who was hated and loved in equal measure. You had Glazers, obviously. I mean, there's no love lost there. And then Sir Jim Ratcliffe. That's true for all the owners across the boards for different clubs. But they have to get the next one right, and I mean, they just have to, because even now, thankfully, because of the mediocre quality of the league, because of the number of draws that the team around us have been playing, we are still within a within a touching distance of fifth. We are fifth. I mean, tied with Chelsea for fifth position, but we are only 4 points away from the team at the 15th, in 12th or 13th or 15th, right? So I mean, even the interim, whoever comes as the interim, right? It has to be a bang on signing. It can't be a Ralph Ragnick situation. It just cannot happen. I mean, we cannot afford to miss out on uh, we cannot afford to miss out on in Europe, for Europe, 2 seasons in a row. Just cannot happen.
so I know. I think all of us we do like the Athletic, right? And of course, Carl Anka from the Athletic. He had some interesting takes, and his write-up starts with Ruben Amorim departs United as one of their least.
Look who joined.
Maybe on this day of days, everybody could use this.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was saying that Carl Anka from The Athletic, and he starts with his write-up as Ruben Amorim departs United as one of their least successful head coaches. His team fielded multiple defensive players, but rarely defended well. Um, they were slow to react in the game's critical moments. His time can be summarized as a time of questionable decisions, especially given the fact that Liverpool and West Ham reportedly had doubts over how he would adjust to the Premier League in the first place. Football executives like to describe moments of failure as single discrete events, but United's issues manifest in aggregate. Um, and I think this line summed up beautifully. Amorim was United's first head coach, but fell foul of many of the problems that affected every manager of the post-Ferguson era. Under Amorim, United struggle to make good decisions. Whatever happens next needs to come with clarity, conviction, and most importantly, a sense of accountability. So, by the way, now I think let's move to the quant side of things a little bit because we've discussed a lot of feelings, emotions, and reactions. So, overall, Amorim's reign, we had 63 games, 24 wins, 23 losses, 18 draws. It was a 38% win percentage. We scored 122 goals, which was high, but we conceded 116, which is incredibly high. To top it off, no manager has a worse record for the club since Frank O'Farrell in the early 1970s. And since Amorim has like gotten the reins of United in the Premier League, at least only three ever present clubs have won fewer points than United. We have 58 points in 47 games. Spurs has 46 in 46. West Ham has 45 in 47. And
Spurs have been that bad.
yeah, yeah, that was a surprise to me as well. And Wolves, of course, have 39 points in 47 games. So it's Spurs, West Ham, Wolves, the only three teams to have fared worse than us. Amorim factually has the worst goals conceded ratio, which is 1.53 per match. He has the lowest clean sheet ratio of 15%, and he has the worst win ratio in the Premier League for United, which is 32%.
I mean, the stats are there for everyone to see. You can't debate against factual things. It is what it is. Uh, the fact of the matter is that we have been a subpar team for far too long and a subpar squad for far too long. Uh, the only thing which he could have done, he could have done a lot of things, but one thing that he definitely should have done was get more out of the players that he had at his disposal. He did not manage to do it, except maybe Heaven, probably. And a lot of players
Delete maybe.
regress, delete maybe. A lot of players regressed under him. Menu, Rashford, you know, the
Garnacho,
I mean, Garnacho is an ass. I mean, he's the further away he's from the club, the better it is for the club. He's a
he
rotten apple.
liked the
I
post
know,
as
I know,
well,
I know,
right?
I know, I know.
Fabrizio's
Yeah,
post
yeah, yeah.
of Amarim getting
We
sacked.
shouldn't even give him screen time in front of a five audience members, right? उतना भी नहीं deserve करता है वो तो वो देना ही नहीं है उसको. So I think, see, the facts are there for everyone to see. We and therefore, I mean, a lot of people wanted him to fail. A, because he's a United manager, and B, our team did not come to grips with the formation for the first season, and they suffered because of it. They and I mean, see, also the fact is that, do you remember a United squad this week in the last, ever since we have started supporting United? I don't. Even in the grimmest of times under Van Gaal, under Moyes under Mourinho, under Ragnick, our squad was never this weak the way it is now. I mean, we have average players all across the board. We have brain dead players, players who are, I mean, players who may have good heart, good running capabilities, but they're just brain dead. I mean, how do you solve for a Dallo, not converting an open chance, or playing the worst cross, or the ball in the final third? I mean, that should not be up to the manager. So it was always going to be a steep climb, and the hope was that he would get lucky in the journey, and he would get more out of the players at his disposal, which did not happen, which unfortunately did not happen. And I think, so what happens is that, especially at a club like United, when you start falling, right, if you do not arrest the fall, it becomes a free fall, and then you're done for. I think he did arrest the fall to a certain extent this season, but clearly it wasn't enough. And this season being a start stop season did not help, because see, for example, had we had a little more points, right? I mean, I'm assuming that the main fallout is on the playing style, on the need for him to be more flexible. अगर उसका भी 10-11 पॉइंट्स एक्स्ट्रा होते, राइट, जो हमारे परफॉर्मेंसेस डिजर्व करते हैं, तो उसके प्लेइंग स्टाइल पे क्वेश्चन ही नहीं होता ना. मतलब उसका मतलब आई वुड अज्यूम दैट विलकॉक्स वो पॉइंट लाता ही नहीं. ठीक है, ट्रांसफर में डिसएग्रीमेंट्स होते हैं, बट वो डिसएग्रीमेंट डाइजेस्टेबल होते हैं हर मैनेजर के लिए कि ठीक है, यू नो, लॉन्ग टर्म पिक्चर देखते हैं, अभी शॉर्ट टर्म फिक्स नहीं करते। एनीवेज प्लेयर्स वापस आने वाले 17 जैन को, बट बिकॉज उसके पास वी आर नॉट विनिंग इनफ मैचेस, वी डोंट विन इनफ मैचेस। In I think in 25 we won what 13 14 matches in total, right? Uh, we have won 3 matches in the last 12 matches, 11 matches, right? One win in five. We have had 6 draws in last 11 matches, 2 defeats and 3 wins. So clearly we are not winning enough matches. Clearly, the style that you have deployed is not yielding results. So you open yourself up for any sort of action, and then you go against your employer. You you badmouth them in front of the media hounds. और क्या होना है? यही होगा, यही होगा.
Yeah, I think even Fabrizio interestingly came out and said that Amorim always wanted a classic number nine who's adept at scoring goals and not like a young budding striker who's adept at running behind the lines and is not like an out and out scorer. So of course the briefings have started to come in now. Um, as quickly as you can, where do you see us finishing this season now, irrespective of who comes in? But yeah, where do you see us finishing?
Fifth.
Even still.
Yeah, I I have to
Do
have that
you want a rerun
caveat.
of the previous semi-delusional
No, not
clip
I'm
we've
not
just
being
put out on
semi-delusional.
Instagram?
I think there is
That's a bold
as
statement.
weak a squad as it is right now. The overall quality of the league, you can call it, it is a level playing field all across the board. So therefore, if a manager comes and you see that uptick because of the new manager boom, you can always go on a run and win a few matches and finish. See, all we need to do is we need to finish. We need to perform better than Chelsea to finish in the Champions League places. And that should not be an extremely difficult thing to achieve.
I think with the ruckus going on, we'd be finishing in the Europa League. I'm not sure of where
So
we'll finish in terms of
where do you reckon
ranking,
we will
but
finish in this season?
we'll
Take
qualify
a
for the
wild,
we'll qualify for the Europa League.
which means sixth. क्योंकि यूरोपा में सिक्स वाला पोजीशन जाता है एंड एफए कप विनर जाता है, राइट? सिक्स तो सेवेंथ.
Yeah, so I mean, irrespective, I mean, doesn't matter sixth or seventh, but I don't think we'll be able to finish in the Champions League
See,
anymore.
any other season I would have said that we would finish in the top eight, between sixth or eighth position, but this season is a season of mediocrity. इसलिए I think we can finish fifth.
And now addressing the elephant in the room, who do you think is going to be our next manager? Or who do you think, or who do you want to be United's next manager?
So इसमें भी just like most things United, nothing is straightforward. So अभी फ्लेचर है, then वो लोग interim manager hire करेंगे who will run the show till the end of the season, and then permanent manager hire करेंगे.
Unless miraculously they can find somebody who they want to lead
I don't want
permanently.
that to happen because I don't want the interim manager to become the permanent manager, you know, aka repeat of Solskjaer. And I don't want permanent manager to happen in the middle of the season, aka repeat of Amorim. I want anyone who comes in to come with a clean slate in the month of I mean before the World Cup for summer window. So that's what I want. I think. Which you want me to answer who I would want as the permanent manager? My answer will continue to be Luis Enrique. I mean, he's my dream manager. I don't know if he's ready to be a head coach or if he's even available or if he would even come to United from the heavens of PSG to the pit that is United right now. Uh, I mean, I am detached to any of the options that have been put forward. See, so I want someone who can control the dressing room. I don't want a flavor of the month manager that systems manager, so to say. Just say Amorim was a system manager, right? Married to his system. Enzo, the former Chelsea coach, is a systems manager. Zerbi is a systems manager. Glasner is a systems manager. I mean, I want a coach who I mean, see, क्या होता है ना जब when you hire a coach,
So before that, I think um, Oliver Glasner is the next manager of Manchester United.
that's
10 out of 10.
he's the
And
bookie's favorite. He's the bookie's
but
favorite.
I would want at this moment Thomas Tuchel to come in and become the next
Thomas,
manager.
see, if you want to get a I mean, you have to, now that you're starting with a clean slate in terms of manager, you have also have to look at different aspects. A, you know, will he fit in the system? B, will he give your academy players, a push? C, would he adapt to the existing squad, right? I mean, obviously the squad has to evolve, right? But without breaking the process, would he? Sorry, just a second. Oops, sorry. So, so,
Not the weirdest thing to happen today.
so would he adapt to the score that's on play? मतलब जैसे हमारा जो process है, which is established right now कि हम block ले रहे हैं उसको पूरा revamp कर रहे हैं. I mean, we revamp the forward line. Now this coming window we will revamp the midfield. Anyone who comes has to be on board with this approach. So therefore, we, I mean, I don't know if Tuchel would be the right person. There are names being thrown around. Gareth Southgate. I mean, वो तो फिर खत्म ही हो जाएगा. Then Eddie, Howie, Marco Silva. So I honestly have no clue क्या होने वाला है, but I think Glesner is the fans favorite. Then there are also left field names such as Xavi, Zidane. Who knows? Xavi का same ही होगा again. He will demand a lot from the hierarchy in terms of signings. नहीं मिलेगा वो भी छोड़ के चला जाएगा.
So, by the way, Fabrizio just said that Manchester United will now look for the new managers, and conversations are expected to accelerate very soon. Internal meetings and then interviews expected to start to decide on the new manager either now or in the summer. So, everybody's also said, like everybody credible at least, that if the new manager or the permanent manager they want to, if he is available right now, they may get him in the middle of the season as well, but it remains to be seen. Also, ESPN's Mark Ogden has said too much to Tuchel to be the kind of proven Premier League manager that United would want. Similarly, Miguel Delaney has said that he sees Oliver Glasner, just like so many others are seeing, is the clear number one choice at the moment. And after him, we have Eddie Howe, Thomas Tuchel, De Zerbi, but top choice remains Oliver Glasner. Whilst Enzo Maresca is also in the frame, this is by James Burt of Telegraph, by the way. I wanted to ask you one thing. Who do you think Rio Ferdinand has tipped to be the next United manager? And he
Fletcher,
has given three choices.
Carrick, and Roy Keane.
So his number one choice, and this is going to be a surprise, is De Zerbi. And his number two choice is Thomas Tuchel. And then the third one is Fletcher, which, okay, let me not say anything about this at the moment. And by the way, and I know you love them a lot, Paul Scholes and Nicky Butt on their podcast, right?
वो देखा मैंने, वो देखा.
Who would they want to be the United manager? And they were saying yes and no to different
They
names.
said no to Glesner.
And I was so
See, I
surprised that
mean,
they said yes to Roy Keane
पागल
and
हैं यार वो लोग. They I just don't get how they,
yes to
such
Emery.
big legends of the game. And the way Emery operates at Aston Villa, he's a manager. He even controls, he calls the shots on transfers as well. And therefore he was so close to leaving the club because they did not have any money. उसने so uh, Aston Villa's sporting director Monchi, right? Former sporting director, he left because of Emery. So I mean, it is, हमें यहाँ इंडिया में बैठे हुए ये सब पता चलता है just by reading on different forums. उनको वहाँ बैठे ये सब नहीं पता होता. I mean, I don't get the brain fart movements that these great legends of the game. I just don't get it. I mean, I don't get it. रॉय कीन, आई थिंक मुझे लगा था वो पैरोडी है जब उन्होंने रॉय कीन का नाम बोला. So, but I think Glesner is the front runner right now. But यार वो भी तो three at the back system खेलते हैं. So how is that different from Amorim?
No, so by the way, he took Wolfsburg to the Champions League for after so long by playing a back four. So he's not. attached to the 3-4-3 as it comes out to be.
But his
He
most recent formation has been a 3-4-3.
most recent, yes, but he is adaptable to the players he gets. So at Wolfsburg, his team was completely different, and he played with 4-2-3-1, I think, throughout. And I think he has gone on record to say this as well, maybe not recently, but back then, that his formation is dictated by the players he has.
So what would your pick be for the permanent manager, for the interim manager and the permanent manager?
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for the interim manager, and permanent, I'm really
Are you
torn.
being serious about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer
Yes,
for
I
the
am.
inter? Okay.
Yes, I am. Because I don't see too many good options out there anyway, and I know he'd come back in a heartbeat. And he knows the
Carrick is
club.
there. Carrick
He
is
loves
there.
the club. I'm not sure Carrick would. I mean, isn't he at Middlesbrough?
No, no, उसको निकाल दिया ना वहाँ से. उसको टाइम
Okay,
हो गया.
okay, he's free.
Yeah.
Not too sure. And I don't see. Like, who do you think is going to be the next interim manager then? Like, I don't see
I
too many
think
options.
Carrick could be an option. How about Karen McKenna? He was interviewed last time when we were looking out for a Ten Hag replacement. What do you have to say about him? I think Chelsea could also Chelsea is already hired, so Chelsea are also looking at him. So what about him?
Do you think somebody would leave their managerial job to come on as an interim manager for a few months at United?
That's true. That's true. I think it could be a
Especially given
huge jump.
how long he's been at the club. I mean, Ipswich and what he's done with the team.
I think so. If you have to put me on the spot, I think it will be Carrick for the interim and Glesner for the permanent manager.
I feel we are totally in line in terms of the permanent. Like I know that he's going to come, but
What is your take on? I mean, I know I'm just manifesting out, just putting it out there in the universe for it to come true. But Enrique, I mean, if there's a possibility that you extract him out of PSG, would he become your first choice instantly?
I'm not too sure. I mean, I'm not too sure really. I would personally like somebody who's managed in the Premier League before. Hence, I'm not too sure.
Which okay. So basically, you're following the same template that our recruitment team has been following with outfield players. And how about Eddie Howe? I mean, he did a great job at Newcastle, and I think now they have
And even at
stagnated.
Bournemouth as well. Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, if it's a like any, I think anybody beyond, let's say, like a high profile one like Luis Enrique or Thomas Tuchel, and everyone else will seem like a punt. So I don't know what to make of it. Like you maybe say Eddie Howe or Marco
hmm.
Silva or maybe Thomas Frank or Glasner for that matter.
What about that Bournemouth? I keep mispronouncing his name.
Adoni Iraola, right? Same,
Iraola.
he'd be a punt, and I think he'd be maybe one of the weaker punts out there, given his time. At least some of the other managers have spent longer in the Premier League, and some have spent with different teams as well. Um, so yeah. So what do you think? Like, how is it going to impact our transfer market, not just for January, but even come the next
See,
summer, maybe?
January. Yeah, January. I don't think we were anyways going to do much in January. That was made abundantly clear through different forums. I think our approach to the good thing about hiring a head coach rather than a manager is Amorim did not call the shots right on our summer window. So the players that we have signed are very versatile. I mean, at least I would like to believe that. Lemons is a goalkeeper, so I mean, every team needs a goalkeeper, and he's a very reliable goalkeeper. He can be a ball playing goalkeeper if the need be, and he can play the role of a keeper's keeper if the need be. And then you have Sheshko, a number nine, so to say, young number nine. And then you have Mbumo, who could be a number 10, who could be a right winger, who could play the 4-3-3 formation, 4-2-3 formation, 4-4-2 formation. And then you have Cunha, who could play the number 8 role, who could play the number 10 role, who could play a false 9. So I think we have signed very versatile players. And I'm not defending INEOS, but I think that's very visible. We have not signed systems wale players. Uh, so therefore, I don't think it will impact our transfer business much other than convincing players to come, right? Because everyone wants to go in an environment of stability, even if it's a club as big as United. अगर आपको पता है कि वहाँ manager कि managerial position is up in the air, so वो pitch उनको manage करना पड़ेगा. I don't know how they will manage, because when they start when they start approaching agents, पहला question आता है who will manage the club. They should have a firm answer for that, or a good response to that. Here, irrespective of the manager or the head coach, this is the formation that we are going to play. आपका player ऐसे use होने वाला है. So I don't think it will impact our transfer business much, in my opinion.
So, by the way, tell me something. Ever since the sack has happened, did you read about the fact that media is now sharing photos of Amorim smiling, and and even Chris Wheeler, who's one of the reputed sources out there, he said the staff at Carrington today was stunned to see Amorim and his coaching staff leave the training ground laughing and joking.
I read that
What
article.
the hell do you make of this? I mean, is it even worth discussion?
No, I don't think it is even worth discussion. I mean,
So why the hell would
I
tier
mean,
one sources talk about it?
he was trying to imply that this is again the conspiracy that I alluded to, कि उन्होंने ये stir up किया है ताकि वो sacked हो जाए और पैसे मिले. But I think it is a non-starter. We should not
So
even go
why
in
would
that
tier one
direction.
sources talk about it? Do they
Chris
not have
Wheeler,
bigger things in their
see,
life to talk about?
Daily Mail is a funny newspaper in the sense that they could have great scoops as well as non-stories turned into stories. So I think it's one of those. It could be a laughter of relief, right? It could be laughing at the situation. It could
So
be
by the way,
even
not just Daily Mail, even Manchester Evening News.
not a great source, again, not a great source. It is not David Ornstein putting it out there. I
Of
wouldn't read
course.
too much into it.
Okay, so just this section I want to end with just this last little teeny bit and we promise this would be arguably the last time we speak of Amorim today. So 3 days ago, Fabrizio had tweeted, Manchester United remain on their stance, supporting and backing Rúben Amorim. They're not planning for anything different at this stage. And voila.
हाँ, वही जो जो हमने सेम डिस्कस किया, राइट, कि कुछ तो
Yeah.
बड़ा हुआ है. फॉल आउट ही हुआ है और कोई रीजन नहीं है. और कोई रीजन मतलब ईगो,
So
डिसएग्रीमेंट्स, थप्पड़ वप्पड़ मार दिया, कुछ भी हो सकता है.
So I remember I was listening to the Muppeteers, and maybe I mentioned it in the previous podcast as well, that the fact that we've not made a move this January, um, it may be a clear sign that they're not behind him as much as we
No, I
thought they
don't
are.
think. No, I don't
Which
think that's the case. I think, see, James. I mean, James is a great, uh, what do you call him? Podcast journalist. But then he also has his biases, right? I mean, उसके भी सब journalists जैसे उसके भी हैं, right? So, I mean, the way I read the situation is, obviously I don't know as much as James do of the inner workings and the transfer dealings of the club, but the way I read it is that उनके long term transfers available नहीं हैं and इसलिए वो sign नहीं करें. They did not want to compromise, even though the upside of it could be huge in terms of getting the Champions League position. They just did not want to sacrifice because they've had their hands burnt in the past with rushing into signing mediocre players, splurging on your third, fourth, fifth choice. They just did not want to do it.
the red zone. So ideally, red zone is the one where we have controversial takes, but we covered all of that in the theater anyway. I think we should dissect Leeds match a little bit because, of course, it's another PL game and it's an important one. And I know it might seem a little counterproductive, but yeah, we have to give it its due and the players who played as well. So yeah, I'll just quickly summarize a few of the pointers. Um, I think with the team that we had and the depth and the bench strength and in general where Leeds are at the moment and clearly the uncertain space we are in. This was a good point gained overall. And there were certain good moments as well, good patterns of play. The defense seemed pretty all right. I think I was rooting that somehow maybe VAR says that it's not an offside and Cunha का वो goal माना जाता, that the blinder that he scored from outside of
और
the box,
ऑफसाइड
that.
था क्या वो मतलब?
So Cunha, by the way, came out with it post-match and said that the ref told him that Sheshko was offside, even though Sheshko was not involved in the play. But then the ball was about to go to him maybe, and because he was a part of the attacking
But
movement.
if you remember Rashford's goal against City, जो I mean Bruno, वो तो इससे ज़्यादा off, I mean anyways ठीक है.
Exactly.
हाँ, so yeah, I mean
We had that
uh,
Euros chance as well that Casemiro deflected it to Euro and Euro
हाँ
gave that
वो तो
header,
point
right?
blank. Correct, correct. I think we had sufficient chances to win the match, but it was a fair result. I think I was irritated simply because of the lack of quality from wing backs in the final third. That irked me the most. I mean, इतनी बार शॉ अच्छे पोजीशन में जाके वो अपना फर्स्ट मैन नहीं क्लियर करता है. I mean, just so, I mean, so frustrating because Shaw has this uncanny ability to put great crosses, but he just doesn't cross the first man enough for the ball to reach the players. Then Sheshko looks visibly out of short of confidence. I mean, he needs that goal badly, needs that goal. Uh, Dorgu had an okay game, and again, I think my beef is that our players make bad decisions in the final third, and they see the team that was put out was a top 12 team at best, nothing more than that. It was so devoid of quality, you know, that X factor, because other than Cunha, no one had that, and the goal came from Cunha. So I think defensively we were solid. The goal was again a soft goal that we conceded.
I think Heaven could have done a little bit better. I mean, he could have
I
been
mean,
a little more aware
yeah, I
and
think he underestimated the speed of the striker.
yeah, maybe he
At
was
this,
just a little. I did the first few paces.
right.
I mean, he didn't feel that this is how
But I
it's
think
going to.
when we equalized, I felt we would go on to win the match. But I think just did not have enough quality on the pitch to win the match.
So by the way,
Sheshko did have a good chance. Good chance.
you know how many times we've won the game when we've conceded first this season?
Zero.
One game. We won against Palace.
Crystal Palace, right?
Yeah, that's the only one. And
So
yes,
I think,
on
huh,
Sheshko, by the way, I mean, you're absolutely right. And I just hope it's not a case where even after scoring the next goal, whenever he does that, um, that still his form remains the same because I feel there is something bigger at play. I truly feel that, like, you remember that that cross that he had, and it was an offside chance, and he
hmm,
made such a weird header. I mean, he looked so awkward, even though we're talking about Sheshko, who, I mean, whose heading capabilities are top notch, at least, right? Just something does not feel right. Just something
hmm,
about his body positioning, his movement, his confidence, the way he's hitting the ball. He feels very timid. I mean, he does not feel in his own. But having said that, it's not easy doing what he's doing. It's not easy to be leading the line at United, at arguably the biggest brand uh, in sports, not just in football. And it's not as if he has mentors to learn off of. Like he has, there's no strike partner because I don't consider Xerxes a strike partner anyway. And if he listens to Xerxes, game is going to regress big time. So to be doing this and like right from day one, like you are going to be solving the mantle for us and you are going to be our top scorer and whatnot. I
it's
don't think
unfair
it's,
on him. It is
yeah.
unfair on him. Yeah.
And nobody in world football has been able to do that at a top level. Like maybe Mbappe, maybe one or two more, and that's it. Done. There is no other in the list.
Then there is some substance to the rumors that linked us to Mateta. I mean, who knows?
I mean, like a Mateta or a Watkins, along with Sheshko, could have been like a dream pairing. Um, So yeah, I
Right.
mean, and by the way, like I would rather have had Leeds' bench strength than ours, which is such a ludicrous statement for me to say because the budgets that the two teams are working with is what like chalk and cheese, right? It can't even be compared. Um, so we had hardly anybody sitting on our bench who was like Premier League proven, or I mean, like could score a goal for us. Whereas Leeds had I think Nemecha, they had Nonto, they had Harrison, there was Longstaff as well. So yeah, pretty odd when you think about
I
it.
mean, it I mean, the less we talk about it, the better it is. Such a weird side. Weird as in weak side.
So
Really
let's
glad.
kick off, I think, Fergie time on this note. So we have upcoming matches like Burnley away, we have Brighton at home in the FA Cup, which I feel is crucial. Then we have City at home, Arsenal away, Fulham at home. Aren't we welcoming our interim manager in the best way possible? Or maybe Fletcher and whoever comes up.
Yeah,
Imagine,
baptism by.
imagine, imagine the interim manager coming in right before the City game at home and then Arsenal away. And then imagine what the media is going to look like.
I think baptism by fire. Uh, good that we are playing Burnley away. At least draw तो कर ही लेंगे. तो, तो
Right.
and Brighton को हरा देंगे home पे है FA
Do
Cup
you
है
think we'll be
Brighton.
playing 3-4-3 in the next game?
No, no, definitely. I think we'll play 4-2-3-1 in the next game. 4-3-3 because that's Fletcher's preferred formation. Uh, I mean, see, I mean, आर्सेनल एंड सिटी वाले एनीवेज अगर हम फुल स्क्वाड के साथ भी हार सकते हैं तो ठीक है इट इज मेरे लिए वो ज्यादा फ्री हिट है वो दोनों मैचेस द नेक्स्ट टू मैचेस व्हिच इज बर्नली एंड ब्राइटन आर द टू क्रूशियल मैचेस फॉर
So I think we only have two questions left, so we won't take long. Wanted to just highlight a certain number of stats under Amorim. Who do you think has the most appearances under Ruben?
me. Bruno,
Okay, and who would be a close second and third?
I think Euro second,
Yeah,
Mazraoui
yeah.
third.
How the hell did you get that right?
I read this stat
So
somewhere
Maduro is not third, by the way. Dalo,
अच्छा
Diogo Dalo, I think.
पढ़ा मैंने
Yeah, Diogo Dalo is third, and then Ugarte of all players. Imagine that. And then we have Mazrui in the fifth position. Of course, goals and assists goes without saying. We have Bruno at 25 goals and assists combined, and the second is not even halfway there.
yeah.
शायद 10 पे भी नहीं है कोई. Of course, the most number of goals scored is after Bruno is Mbumo, who has just come in. And then we have Xerxes, Casemiro, Mount, and Cunha at four. So yeah, this is the last question of today. Do we have any positives to look out for? Any silver lining?
Yeah, yeah, the new manager bounced. That's it. No other silver lining.
So
Yeah,
I
बोल
yeah.
बोल.
So by by the way, do you know the last two Premier League managers to get the Manager of the Month award?
Marseca and
Maresca and Amorim. Yes, being in form. Yeah. But yeah, I think honestly, I feel in terms of positives, maybe some of the players who were feeling a little less loved,
hmm.
so now they don't have any excuses anymore. Maybe there's a turnaround for Menu, and I hope there is. Like this one, I truly, truly hope from the bottom of my heart. And I don't know if maybe Marcus Rashford can come back.
I don't know, man.
Less likely, but
He'll be like a new signing.
yeah, exactly. And maybe the new manager wants to what, like offer Sancho a contract? Of course, purely kidding. We don't want to decimate our club further. So yeah, I think new manager bounce is what it is, and of course now every single day we'll be talking about the interim manager and then the permanent manager. And I agree. I don't think we're signing anybody in January anyway. So yeah, this is by far what we have. So yeah, I think folks, I think everybody can appreciate today being I think one of the hardest days in a long time, but we still showed up. So feel free to please like, comment, share, subscribe on YouTube, and please check us out on Instagram as well. And yes, we are live, and we're truly, I mean, as consistent as we can be. So yeah, we love your support, and we are here every week, and maybe sometimes more than a week. So yeah, see you soon, and goodbye.
Bye bye.